Hey, this lesson we're going to be looking at overflow of content. So if you do have a particular element, and we're going to update some of the content within this blue one, and I'll show you what happens whenever we've got content overflowing. There's different ways to handle the overflow of that element. So selecting the element with content of test2, and I'll just duplicate this so I've got just a ton of content in there. I think that's quite a bit of stuff. So what's happening is it's updating the height of the element. So if we want to force it to be a certain height, let's select that element. And we're going to select the height to be 300 pixels. Refresh. And what's happening is the content is still actually flowing outside. And if we make it even smaller at 100 pixels, and I do also have the property of the minimum height on the section. So let me get rid of that and refresh. And our content is flowing way outside of the blue element. So we want to be able to handle that and contain it within the blue element. So there are a few options how to handle overflow. And you can also set overflow on X, overflow on Y. So you can specify depending on which axis, applying the different overflow values. So there are different ones. There's auto, which is similar to scroll. So it adds the scroll bars only when it's necessary. And in this case, because the content is overflowing, it will automatically add the scroll bar. There's another option for content to scroll. And this is the overflow is clipped and the scroll bar is added to see the rest of the content. So this will automatically, or this will always have scroll bars. And we see that in the bottom there that it's added the scroll bar there as well. Even though we don't have anything to scroll, it's still added in the scroll bar. So if you always want to show a scroll bar, then you can set it to scroll. If you want to automatically add the scroll bar if needed, then that's auto. There's also hidden. And what this does is this hides the content that is overflow. So it basically clips the content and makes it invisible. So it's regardless if there is content that's overflowing. So this is a way to contain the content within the size of the box. And the default is to make it visible. And visible is what we saw when we first set out and added the content. So it makes all the content visible. So even though it's flowing outside of the original containing element, we still see it visible on the page. So depending on what different types of ways you want to handle the overflow of content, there are some options within the overflow property. And typically, I do like to use auto, as if I've got content in the element, and also with screens that get resized in different size screens, it's always good to have an option for the user to be able to select and view content that's contained within the element. So try it out. Add in overflow to one of your elements. Don't forget to set the height of the element, and you'll be ready to move on to the next lesson.